Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We rented movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feedback bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge sent us podcast. Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Sent Us podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Hello!
Hey.
So we're recording together. Good news number 1. Good news number 2, we are picking the winners of our anniversary contest. A little bit delayed, so if you've been paying attention to our Instagram story or social media of any kind, you'll know that we are giving away 2 masks to
Count 'em,
to
2.
loyal fans who commented on our anniversary pick. We had posted this awesome photo or 2 photos of these 80s and 90s puzzles that Sweetie put together during quarantine.
I mean, I really did 3, but I forgot to take a picture of the third one, which was just about movies.
Oh, wow.
So that would have been a good one, too. But
So it was like a big kind of collage. And we Where's Waldo'd it and said, hey, find movies that we've done for the podcast. And we had some of our amazing listeners chime in and, comment. Really, I was thinking that you totally could have cheated with that and just looked at other people's comments and been like, yeah, Back to the Future. And like not even looked at the puzzles. I'm not sure anybody did that. I don't think you guys did. You seem like
everyone probably sent
nice
all different
people.
ones.
But so we're going to go on to Instagram Live and pick a winner. So hold on while I switch to my social media account.
Oh, boy.
Here we go. We never
we
do
go.
lives, and they're so weird. Okay.
We did it with that one time.
I know. We've only done it once. Okay.
I should put makeup on.
Oh, you're fine. Ready? Okay, we're live. The Large Marge Sent Us podcast. Hey, hey. You guys are used to just hearing our voices, but you're seeing us now. Pretty cool.
Can they see me?
Yep. Here's Sweetie.
In the
Here's Sweetie.
90s, we were just tiny, teeny tacks when I can movies in our box.
All right, tell the kids at home what we're doing.
Today, we are drawing the 2 winners of our contest. What do we call it? Our anniversary contest. So we have put 13 names in a hat, and we will need a magic assistant. So pull the names out for us. Magic assistant.
Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
Hello.
Hello, assistant.
Hello.
Come out.
Hey,
Oh, it's
Sweetie.
Sweetie Jimmy. Picking the
Okay.
names.
All right.
So you're going to pick 2.
One at a time?
Yep.
One at a time.
Okay.
All right, our first winner,
Winner
is...
is...
First winner goes to
Might not be able to read it. I thought I'd be reading it.
Kingspin. Louis Chase.
All right.
Ex-Kingpin.
Congrats,
All right.
Lewis. Congrats,
Congrats,
Lewis.
First
Lewis.
winner. Okay, gotta shake it up real good. Oh boy. Okay. Second and
Chase.
final winner.
And second final winner goes to Wootwagon Megan.
All right. Megan. Loyal fans.
Louis Chase and
Commenting.
Megan.
Very great. Good stuff.
Wow.
Congratulations.
That was awesome.
Proof is in the pudding.
Wow, lives are really weird. So awesome. Congratulations to those 2 winners. Anyone, feel free to go to our merch store. Merch.
Yeah.
And get, we have masks there. We have T-shirts. We have tote bags. We have, like, all that good stuff. And we're going to keep recording tonight because we did Back to the Future 3. Finished the trilogy. Quick, how did you like it?
What? It was okay. Listen, Westerns, not for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I enjoyed the continuation and the end. I thought it tied it up nicely. But we're just at the beginning of our podcast, so I don't want to give too much away tonight.
Right. There's more to come. But we love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Who's commenting? Who's talking to us?
Oh, I didn't end it.
Oh, fuck. That's so embarrassing. We're still recording here. Hello.
Oh, sorry. This is weird. How do I get off of this? I don't want to like be on it.
You're still on.
Am I still on it?
It's just a black screen.
Figure it out, sweetie.
Hello. Live video ended.
Okay.
All right. Great.
I just don't want to be like keeping it live and then I take it to the bathroom with me or something.
Well, I said ended, so don't worry.
Okay. So, guys, that was really exciting. Yes, live shit. Congratulations to those two winners. I'm sure you deserve it. And, you know, everyone who commented deserved it.
Yeah.
We might be sending some to people on there additionally just because we love you. So stay tuned. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's kind of like Willy Wonka Golden Ticket. Yeah. That'd be a fun way to do a game. I don't know how we would do it.
How do you do it? Wait, your live video hasn't popped up on my feed yet.
Oh, no.
Maybe you have
it
to
takes a while.
like push it.
Do I have to push it to Instagram TV?
Is that what the kids are doing now? I thought it was just live.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, maybe it's
Share
live for
to-
people if you were
Share to
there to
IGTV.
see it live,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then put it up for everyone.
Okay. Title, description, sharing Instagram.
Really figuring out Instagram
Large
tonight,
merch
guys.
sent us.
We'll
anniversary
edit this
giveaway.
out because
All
maybe
right.
it's boring.
Yeah, totally. So, hey guys, welcome to the Large Merch Send Us podcast. Sorry, it's hard to do two things at once. There we go. Okay. So yes, we just had our drawing. Awesome. But don't forget, we also did a movie tonight. I feel like I want to go home now. I'm like, well, that's good. I mean, I am home, but
We did our work.
yeah. Oh, there you are, sweetie. Look. Aw.
I'm so cute.
How cute you are. So yes, we did a movie tonight. My choice. So I was gonna do heavyweights, but
Her choice, quote
Sweetie
unquote.
came over and I'm like, we're doing heavyweights, right? And she's like, oh. And
Okay, for background, for like all summer, Sweetie has been like, okay, tonight we're gonna watch like blank movie, and then I'll get there, and then I'm like all ready to watch whatever movie, and Sweetie will be like, okay, so what are we watching? Like, are we watching this? And I'm like, what? You decided already. So she keeps backtracking.
Yeah.
So I took the opportunity to suggest a second option, which was
Right. So Sweetie suggested
Back to the Future Part 3.
And this has sort of been our
Snakes.
snakes, our Inception. If you ever heard us tell this story about how we had the DVD of Inception from Netflix for like years, it felt like. And we'll all just be like, yeah, let's watch Inception. And we just never got around to it. And we just like hung on to it forever. I think that was the story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's the story.
And I still have never seen Inception.
I saw it. I finally did it one day.
Yeah. So Back to the Future sort of has become that. Not anymore, though. One that we had kept meaning to cover, and obviously Back to the Future being one of our favorite trilogies, but we really only have seen the first and the second one, and seen the first and the second one like hundreds of times, and just never watched the third one. So we just avoided it. We knew we would finally have to do it, but we're always a little hesitant to do movies we haven't seen because we don't have the connections to them, and we can't quote and sing songs, which is like really our strength, right?
Right.
So we've been avoiding it, but yes, Sweetie said, let's face it, let's face those snakes and do it. So we
Yeah.
did.
Yep. And for some reason, I've been like in a Back to the Future mood the past couple of weeks, to the point where I've like a couple nights I've been like, I think I'm going to watch Back to the Future. But then I just would watch whatever TV show I was watching. So today I just had a hankering. I was like, you know what? I miss Doc. I miss Marty. Let's get the band back together and make it happen. Yeah. And I had a feeling that like, even though it takes place in the stupid Western, whatever that's called, Wild West, or just Wild West. Even though it does that, it's still very, even though we haven't seen it hardly at all, we're still highly involved in the trilogy as a whole. So I think we can appreciate it, and talk about it from that perspective anyways, even if we haven't seen it a ton,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, definitely. So the final movie in the Back to the Future trilogy was from 1990. So I didn't know this, but the Back to the Future 2 came out in 89, and they made a point to release them 6 months apart.
Wow.
In what world, I mean, we have not lived really in this world yet, even though we were alive when this came out, that sequels and parts of trilogies come out within 6 months of each other. So to do that, they had to film these movies all together, the second and the third one in like the same year, basically.
Yeah.
And it was just one long, like 12-month shoot or something like that. And they did...
They
like
did that for Lord of
both
the
them.
Rings.
Oh, true. Yeah. But they spaced those out. They came out every like year or 2 years.
But if they film them all the same time, why did it take so long to release them all?
Because they
I
want...
thought it was pretty like year.
Yeah, but a year, but 6 months. I mean, that's crazy. That's unheard of now. So they really wanted to keep the steam engine rolling, the heat behind these movies, and by releasing them kind of like back to back.
Just like the logs.
Yeah.
Just like the logs.
The log
In the train.
in the train.
Their
Yeah.
number.
Yep. So... yes, I've never seen this movie all the way through. I've seen parts of it, just happened upon some on TV. But this is definitely one that like we have never really, I'd say we like never really seen. And it was lovely. It was a lovely tie this trilogy in a nice bow movie, I'd say. Hits all the notes of a good sequel in that includes cast members from the past movies that we love and know. It includes like trademark lines or little catchphrases from ones that we know, and has, in this case, and because this movie is about time travel and sort of a history repeats itself kind of a thing, you have these scenes that are echoed in each film, but with the twist of different time periods, right? So them setting it in the West was really interesting because they could do like so many different things. Because you had, the 80s, you had the 50s, the 2015s, was it 2015?
Whatever
Yeah.
that's called.
And then now 1855. So you're talking about like parts
Or
of history.
1885.
85.
Yeah.
85.
100 years.
Yeah. Parts of history that, it wasn't 100 years from the 50s. I think it was 100 years from the 50s. That was 1855.
Oh.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So-
Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah, so you're talking about very different parts of history where things really, really were different, right? So you're talking about, I mean, the 50s and 80s isn't as big of a jump. Oh, sorry, but the 80s isn't covered. Yes, so it's different parts of history where stuff is very different.
Pretty big jump between the 50s and the 80s, technology-wise, I would say.
But the 80s isn't totally covered. Remember, it's really the 2015s, the
okay.
50s, and
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
It's because you have like, planes, or things that fly in the future, cars, and then they just have horse and wagons, that kind of a thing. So very interesting how they're able to do that, and that really makes this movie kind of cool because you're like, okay, like how are they going to twist this scene to make it fit into this 1850s kind of a thing? And in the case of this Western one, they had, the directors, so Robert Zemeckis, and who's Bob Gale? Is he the writer or something? They kept mentioning him.
I do not know him.
And they said that they felt that they did enough with Marty's family. And for the sequel, they didn't want to do another thing where they're like, oh, no, like someone in your family is going to disappear if you like cross the road the wrong time. They didn't want to do that.
That happened in the second one?
No, but it's involving
kind
his family.
The dad
really.
got shot. I don't know.
Right, exactly. So they're like, let's twist it and make this all about Emmett Brown, which is a good idea because you're like, okay, he's a central part of this film, but you really don't know like there's, he's just like
what's
the
his
zany,
deal?
the zany inventor. So they really delve into him and give him a freaking life, which is good because, he's not just your inventor friend who's taking you around to the different decades, Marty, or saving your life, Marty.
Or your weird older scientist friend. where you're
Yeah.
like, yeah. What happened here?
So they really give him like a whole backstory, or the whole thing's a story. And I thought that was pretty cool. Definitely not my favorite in the trilogy by any means. A little boring. You get to the point where you're like, okay, I've seen this scene 3 times because you have.
yeah, it gets a little excessive.
Yeah.
And it's like, they change up bits and pieces, but for the most part, it's exactly the same. Except they say like, "What are you, yellow?"
Right.
Instead of chicken. Like that's the one difference.
And I feel like with those, you're like chuckling. You're like, huh, like that's pretty funny. but it's not like near the, and not that the other ones are like hilarious or anything. But I also feel like this movie was missing the Crispin Glover character, who I think for me provided like a lot of the comedy aspect to this. And you have like the Biff character, but he's really more scary than like funny in any way in this one.
And he's not in this one. He's not like the main
Yeah.
antagonist who's preventing them from getting back to the future or whatever.
Right.
Like he's just kind of like an annoyance that's like, okay, we'll do it later.
Yeah.
But I do like how everything draws parallels to everything, and like how in the second one they like talk about Biff, Mad Dog Tannen, and there's that like bulletproof vest thing from the West that he's when Biff's in the hot tub watching the movie, bulletproof vest.
Yeah.
He says that. It's
I was just, I mean, that's what I was doing when I was watching this whole movie. Like when they brought up scenes that were related to the other ones, I was like quoting the scenes from the other movies.
Like more that we don't even
know.
realize, maybe.
So it was like brilliantly tied together. I mean, I'm sure they had consistent screenwriters and whatever who really like made those connections, and that was really cool. And if you are a fan of the trilogy and have seen all those other ones, you were like, you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
like pretty cool. The central, the like one woman character is like a little bit flimsy. I mean, nothing to do with Mary Steenburgen, but like it's not
a terrible character.
It's a terrible character, and you know the Leah Thompson character they do stick in here just for like nostalgia factor, but she has like no role at all. And it's
Like,
just
yeah.
like she's just there to be like, oh hey, it's the mom,
and like, and I can talk in an Irish accent, so like, sweet.
oh yeah, totally.
But Sweetie had issues with it. Just like scientifically doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Like she would look like his grandmother, wouldn't look like his mom because his mom is like not a McFly. Hello. But I feel like we're dissecting it too much.
Too
We're
much,
getting
probably.
too crazy in the intro. But okay, so who's in this movie? Michael J. Fox, Obvi, like we said, filmed the second one and this one back to back. Poor guy, on his break from Family Ties or whatever. I guess his dad died during the filming of this. Sad. He had to miss 2 weeks. That's
Jeez.
it. Jeez, what a workhorse. But then he also had a son, so that's kind of cool.
What, in the middle of
The
this?
circle of life.
So was he not there for the birth?
I don't know. He probably had to take some breaks.
Jeez.
But yeah, so he returns, and I felt a little that he seemed tired of this role, which like, I would be too. He had to film a whole year of the same character, like doing the same shit, saying all the same lines. I don't know, but it was still like
I feel like he just needed a haircut. Like his hair seemed like weirdly long.
I know.
Where I was like, isn't this like 2 seconds after the second one?
Totally.
But yeah, we had a good time, and I enjoyed very much explaining to Sweetie the endings of all the movies to get her back online for the third one.
Yeah.
And we had a couple good like, but time travel doesn't make sense conversations that we love to
we'll
have.
try to work through it.
And
During the podcast.
Yeah, it was a little boring, but that's just me in the West.
Wait,
you know?
I'm not finished. Who's in it yet?
God, I'm sorry. I thought we just wanted to get the show on the road.
No, I'm just reminding people. Okay, Christopher Lloyd obviously returns as Doc Brown. You have Thomas Wilson, I believe is that guy's name, who is
I'm not
Biff.
even going to try. We always mess it up, and then people yell at us. Not yell at us,
Yeah.
but kindly correct
Biff
us.
returns. Like we said, Leah Thompson returns for a bit part. You have Mary Steenburgen as the love interest Clara. You have Mr. Strickland returns as the sheriff. That was pretty cool. And then I don't know if anyone else from, like I said, Crispin Glover did not return. He is at the end for like a second, but it's actually some other actor who looks kind of like him, which is pretty cool. Jennifer is again played by Elizabeth Shue at the very end. Flea returns as Needles, but the kind of the main two people. I mean, all I care about is Marty and Doc Brown, right? So Michael J. Fox, obviously, Christopher Lloyd. Christopher Lloyd is tan in this, and I want to say really threw me for a loop. / was mildly attracted to him, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
So uncomfortable.
He seemed filled out too. Like his face seemed like a little bit more filled out. He was tan, and with that white hair, it just looks so much better. I mean, maybe he was dirty because it also felt like everyone in the Old West was dirty.
He's rugged. You
Yeah.
saw him with that giant rifle, and you were just like,
I'm telling you,
hey, that long
okay.
trench coat.
See?
Jimmy, we know what to dress you up as later. So
clearly that scene did it for you too.
No, it didn't. And I've always found him like pretty creepy, and it's just like
I do too, but he's not as creepy in this to the point he's borderline attractive. I'm just saying.
interesting. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense if they like purposely gave him a love interest and like
Yes.
wanted to make him more real human being, then that makes sense. But I think it's hilarious, and Sweetie now will have like a Doc Brown poster on her ceiling or something. But okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
Good. Okay. All right. So let's try to untangle this web of time travel.
It's time for the Sweetie synopsis. Yeah.
Sweeties.
Great Scott. That's heavy.
Marty McFly has just seen his best friend, question mark. And I know Sweetie and I brought this up in the first Back to the Future. We were like, why are they friends? It's weird. And then we figured it out like halfway through the podcast, or I did. I was like, hey, I know why. Like, because Doc knew Marty from the 50s when Marty traveled back in time. And so he made a point to like befriend him later, whatever. It makes sense. But anyway, so Doc's just like disappeared in the sky in the DeLorean at the end of the second movie. So Marty has to run back on foot to where Doc has just departed original Marty from the first movie back to 1985. And he's like, Doc, you gotta send me back to the future. And he's like, I just sent you back. Like, no. And then he faints, and then that's the end of the second movie. So it picks up right after that, which Sweetie at first didn't think was the case. She was like, this is the wrong ending. I don't know what's happening.
Because I did not remember that the second one ends, if you remember, like there's a lightning storm and Doc is like
I remember
flying, and then there's those little colored flags because they had like hid the DeLorean behind the Hill Valley sign or the Hilldale sign or whatever. And then it gets struck by lightning and he disappears. And then it's just the little flags come flickering down and it's raining.
It's my favorite scene.
Yeah, and this car pulls up and Marty's like, oh my God, who's that? And this guy comes out and he's like, are you Marty McFly? And he's like, yes. He's like, I've got something for you. And then he hands him this like old thing.
Menacingly.
Yeah, this old thing. And it's an
thing.
old part, like an old envelope kind of a thing from like, what's the telegram? Western Union, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And he opens it and it's a letter from Doc Brown from 1855 saying I'm okay, like the time travel, the circuit's busted and sent me back, like 100 years in the past. And he's like, yeah. So then he goes, right, he has to find Doc Brown, who had just sent the other Marty, because this is the movie where there's two Martys in 1955, right? It's confusing. I mean, do you blame me? No. So I was a little confused. But anyway, so they are now he's back in 1955.
Yep. So they read through the rest of the letter, and he basically says that he's fine and well. He's a blacksmith enjoying his life. Don't come to find him. He's left the time machine in an old like abandoned mine. Find it, and then Doc Brown in 1955 should be able to fix it for you, and then you can go on your way home and then destroy the time machine. Easy plan, right? So they figure out where the time does he? Yeah, he gives them a map, I think, to find it. So it's like out in the desert, and Sweetie and I are like, where the fuck are we? And like I guess it's California, but like, and California does have deserts and grass.
It does switch pretty quickly to
so
California. Yeah.
We're not used to that, and we're confused. Anyways, they find the time machine, they get it out, then they see a grave that says like Emmett Brown died like September 7th, 1855. And they're like, that's only like 3 days after or 3 days before after he writes the letter. So they got to go back and save him, they decide. Even though Emmett Brown is like, you can't change things.
Right. That's always been.
That's like his number one thing.
Been Doc Brown's thing. Like, don't mess with.
But I guess Doc Brown in 1955 doesn't know that 100%. Like he hasn't experienced the trials and tribulations of changing time. So maybe he's not as wizened. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they decide they have to do it. So they fix the time machine. They put new wheels on it. They like go out to the desert. Marty is off. It runs into a patch of Native Americans. A group of Native Americans who he flees from them, hides in the cave, and then the cavalry comes. He foots it to Hill Valley because, as usual, there's a problem with the DeLorean once you arrive. It's like nothing can ever go right. It's like either you use up all the fuel or you hit the gas line and it's leaking out the fucking thing. So now he's fucked. So he walks to Hill Valley, meets some old friends, Biff, Mad Dog Tannen, who he knows he's the one that shoots Doc. So he's like, oh, God. Has a confrontation with him, does the old, chase sequence, gets away, ends in manure, blah, blah, blah. And then they catch up to him and they try to hang him because he's dressed in like a pink shirt.
Well, you missed the part where he meets his family, though.
Oh, yeah. After the Native American incident, he collapses and then these Irish people find him, and one looks exactly like Marty, Seamus, and his mom, or the woman, it looks like his mom, and her name is something. But they're like his first relatives who came over off the boat and have given birth to his great-grandfather, who's the first McFly born in the United States. Yay. So nice little piece of history. Yeah. As Sweetie was saying, it doesn't really make any sense like why they look like him. And his mom. Additionally, wasn't he like, why do you look like me? Like Seamus never mentioned that.
Yeah, right. He never did. I guess that was, like I said, they thought they were going to get Crispin Glover, so he was supposed to be that role, and they didn't, so they had to put Michael J. Fox in that like
didn't
very
they?
last
I mean, they
minute,
had like the whole like lawsuit and shit in the second one. So like, why would they be like, I think he'll come back. I really think he'll want to come back to the movie.
I have no idea, but basically it's like Seamus McFly is this Irish immigrant, and the mom's name is like Maggie.
But even still, but even still, if it was Crispin Glover, it still doesn't make sense. Right? Why his mom? But they have to find a way to get that scene in. Right,
exactly. They basically just used Leah Thompson to do that scene, but they made the Seamus McFly look basically like Michael J. Fox in an Eric Stolz wig, which is really confusing because Eric Stolz was supposed to be.
They did that on purpose?
No, they didn't. But he looks just like him.
They did.
It looks just like him, and it's really confusing because Eric Stolz was the original Marty McFly. And remember when we did the first podcast, they filmed like most of the movie with Eric Stolz and had to do like all of these. Obviously, the whole thing reshot because they were watching the dailies or whatever, and we're like, God, this guy just like doesn't have it. So. It's kind of nuts, and that's all I have to say about that. Anyway, so he meets this like family, and I don't know. I thought that was going to be more a part of it, but really, that's like
it's really not.
That's all they're in, like just this part to establish. Oh yay, like immigrant. They have like he's an immigrant, part of an immigrant family, and this is like where it all started, kind of.
And then and then he gives him like an expensive gun at the end, and is like, and that's how you get your money. And
it's like it was kind of strange.
It didn't make sense.
It was kind of ham-handed. Yeah. So then he wanders into town. The old, as Sweetie was saying, when he, each movie he's kind of wandered into whatever the iteration of Hill Valley is. So whether it's like the 50s one where it's really 50s, like dun 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 dun, or the future one where it was like all robots and shit like that. And there's always this clock tower is always like the kind of center, but in this case, clock tower hasn't even been erected yet. It's being erected like that week.
Erected.
I know. I kind of laughed in my head when I said it. And he does have the run-in with Biff, Mad Dog Tannen, who in the bar. So again, the bar kind of takes place of the Cafe 80s or like the diner.
It's called the saloon.
Yeah, this time it's the saloon. So a nice little throwback to that. And there's like a little scuffle there. And he gets in trouble with Biff and the gang. He's about to be lynched. Scary. Fun trivia fact, or maybe not fun. Michael J. Fox actually passed out during that scene because he was like asphyxiated
Oh
from
my
the lynching.
God.
Very scary.
Too
I guess he
much.
talked about it in his book.
Jesus.
He almost died on the set of Back to the Future 3.
But but he doesn't because Sweetie's knight in shining armor
Hot Doc Brown.
strolls up with his huge rifle with like a crazy like telescope on it and shoots the rope, which
He's an inventor.
frees Marty. And they reconnect. And he's like, why the fuck did you come back here? And then he shows him the obituary of him. And he's not mad like he was when Marty tried to tell him that the Libyans were going to shoot him
Right.
in 1985. He seems to have gotten over that now, that he's already swayed the pendulum of life or whatever. And so they decide they need to get the time machine back and get back to the way they were in 1985 before Monday, which is the date that Doc is supposed to die.
Right. They have a lot of information about his death because for some reason they put like on tombstones in 1855, like exactly how you died, like the day you died and how and why.
Well, there was like I thought there was a newspaper article.
No, it was
They found
on
it in
the
thing.
tombstone.
Oh.
It said like
then-
Emmett Brown or whatever, like killed by like Mad Dog Biff, like because he owed him $80.
And then, well, like by his side, his love, Clara, whoever.
There's a lot of info on that tombstone.
And you're like, who's Clara? Whatever. And you're like, I don't fucking know. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, it's only Saturday. Like, he's
Right.
gonna meet someone and fall in love with someone in like a day. So
You would. He's
as
hot.
luck would have it, he does. As the new school teacher strolls to town, Clara, I don't know why I can't remember her last name. And she is they haven't met her yet, but he's like, okay, now he knows who that is, so he makes that connection. They go out to figure out how to get the DeLorean up to 88 miles per hour because it doesn't have any fuel and there's no gasoline in 1855. So they determine the only way to do it is to get a train to push you fast enough, and they find the perfect spot to do it, and it's where this bridge is supposed to be, but unfortunately the bridge has not been built. So they're like, fuck. And then again, Doc's like, doesn't matter, you're gonna go, there is gonna be a bridge in 1985, blah 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 blah. So they go forward with this plan. Meanwhile, some lady's like, oh, and like is like run away on a horse-drawn wagon cart, out of control. She's useless, can't get her shit together with the horses. So damsel in distress. So they go and save her, and that's when her Clara and Doc fall in love. So it was true, love at first sight.
Love at first sight. And you learn that Doc seemingly has never had any relationship or really anything going on in his personal life. It seems to me that he just focused so much on science. Like he's kind of like a science nerd. So he never found like someone that probably didn't think he was kind of strange. And he needed someone with that intellectual capacity. So you learn that she's really like into astronomy and loves Jules Verne books, so like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Match
and
made in
like,
heaven.
Yeah, Journey to the Center of the Earth. So he's, definitely. And they are like smitten kittens immediately, like so goo gaga eyes for each other. It's kind of adorable.
Right. And I think the plan was to like stay low or like not out of sight, but like try not to get killed, I guess. Like at first it was like, we got to get out of here before you get killed. And then it was like, let's just not go to the festival where you get killed and try to avoid it. But then he goes anyways because he wants to be with Clara. So whatever.
Love conquers all.
And then when the confrontation happens and he's about to get shot, Marty flings a pie tin at it and deflects the bullet. So Doc lives. The picture of the tombstone that they have, however, is still like a tombstone. It still says "Here lies." It's just a blank space. So they know that someone's still going to die on that same day, or I guess the date changed too in the picture?
Oh, it did? Okay,
Well,
yeah.
wouldn't that make sense?
I thought Doc was supposed to die on Monday too. I didn't think he was supposed to be that at the festival necessarily,
I
but
thought it said at the festival.
I don't know.
Then what's Monday? Oh, the duel.
train.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right. Because then he wouldn't have died at the festival. It was going to be always a duel.
No, because the duel happens at the festival, out of the festival, right? Because Marty throws the pie tin at him, and
It's
then
not really
he says,
but Doc wasn't didn't have a gun. Like he wasn't.
No, Doc wasn't going to be the duel. It was always Marty and Mad Dog.
But but he flings the pie tin at Doc because Mad Dog's trying to shoot Doc in the back. That's how he dies. Shoots him in the back over dispute over $80 or whatever.
No, but I don't know. I'm
we
confused.
obviously didn't understand it.
He wasn't shooting him in the back. He was like getting ready to shoot him in the front because when he deflects it, it like hits off of Doc's like head.
No, it hits the pie, the tin thing that he
Yeah,
flings
but
at the
it's not
thing.
his back. He doesn't like surprise him.
All
with
right.
it.
Well, whatever. There's the thing. He prevents him from dying. And then now Mad Dog hates Marty, who goes by Clint Eastwood. And so he challenges him to a duel. And then, or is it a duel or is it like a shootout? What is it?
I don't know if that's called is that a shootout
No, it's
in
called
the Old
something.
West?
Yeah, like an Old West.
I think it's shootout.
Shooting thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, now I forget what happens, but when do they get to the train? Like, why haven't
So
they gone
then
on the
they
train
made this
yet?
whole plan, yes, to have the train push it, and they have this Monday train that is leaving
the
at
trains
8
are on a
a.m. Yes, the trains
schedule.
are on schedules. So they have that all planned out. And then Marty plans this duel with Mad Dog, and he gets this special gun, this like Colt whatever. The guy who's selling him wants him to use this special gun, whatever. And it's all stemming around the dumb thing where like, you know, if someone calls Marty out, he has to do something. He can't be a coward. He can't be called a chicken. Or in this case, the word chicken to make fun of someone wasn't invented yet. So you were called yellow.
I thought it was only chicken.
Yellow-bellied.
I thought only chicken upset him.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was just
so.
a chicken
I was
word.
surprised that it could literally be anything. Are you afraid?
That's why it was tricky in this movie because they couldn't. That would have been like an anachronistic to use. Like a phrase that wasn't used yet. So they used yellow or yellow-bellied. But I agree, like chicken, I always thought like was the check-off word. It wasn't just someone challenging like his manhood or whatever that is. So
Yes, it is.
Anyway, so he's like still in his mind, Marty's like, am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? Then they have that picture of the tombstone from the 1955 and they see that Doc Brown's name is no longer on it. It has changed to Clint Eastwood. So that's Marty now. And so Marty's like, oh shit, I don't think I should go with this duel. Like, I'm going to die. So he decides he's not going to do it. And they're getting ready to get the train. So it's like Sunday night and they sleep over like near where the train is. They get it all set up to get the DeLorean kind of hitched in front of it. Marty passes out and Doc Brown goes to see, what's her name? Clara. And says, goodbye, I love you, but I'm from the future and, you know, I have to go back and whatever. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she, you know, likes Jules Verne and all this sort of like futuristic sci-fi stuff. But even she like is like, I don't think so. Like, what's your problem? So she, I think, kind of thinks she's just being rejected and is really upset. And he goes to the local saloon and is like, tries to get drunk, but he is apparently allergic to alcohol because when he takes one shot, he passes out like he's had 10. So Marty wakes up on Monday morning and like the train is about to, you know, depart and he's getting all ready and he's missing Doc Brown. So he goes to the town to find him. And unfortunately, that's like when this supposed duel like is happening, shootout or whatever you want to call it. So he kind of gets sucked back into that whole thing.
I thought it already happened.
No.
'Cause you said he was going to do it, and then he decides to do it.
He doesn't. He decides not to do it, and the only reason
he does do it. He puts the thing on, the bulletproof vest.
he wasn't
a
going to
tin.
do it. They were sleeping by the train tracks, and we're just going to go on the train. The only reason he goes back to town is to look for Doc Brown. So he gets sucked back into the whole thing again, and Mad Dog calls him out. And he's like, come on out of here. Like, you have to do this duel. And he's like, this is actually a pretty funny part because he goes, he's like getting all ready to do it. And then he's like, I'm not going to like listen to this asshole. Can you ever like hear Marty swear?
No.
So,
Yeah, it was the
kind of
first time, I
jarring.
think. Yeah.
So he decides not to do it, but then they escape out the back door. But
Oh,
unfortunately,
no, he does say it. Because what happens to us in the future? Do we become
or
assholes?
something. Yeah. Okay. Right. Good one, sweetie. So they escape out the back door, but unfortunately, Doc Brown gets kind of kidnapped or something, and they hold him somewhat hostage to get Marty out there, right? So that's when Marty's in the back room.
And then puts the thing on. And then so he puts like a tin thing on his
Well, it's like
chest,
covered
like a
to like an
plate.
oven.
Yeah. And he remembers seeing that in the movie in the Back to the Future 2. And when Biff's in the hot tub with the two ladies. So he does that. And so he ends up winning somehow, and then knocks Biff back into the manure again. And so then that's it for Biff, Mad Dog. So that's done. So then Doc's come back to life after drinking the, like, whatever they call it. I forget what they call
Wake
that.
up juice.
Wake up juice. It's like a bunch of nasty shit. He's revived, so they go to make it on the train. They, like, ride out there. They put on COVID masks, bandana style, and are like this. And the guys like, "Is this a holdup?" And they're like, "No, this is a science experiment." And then the people are very nice and just stop the train and get off. And then they switch the track thing to make it go where they want. And then they unhook the rest of the cart, so it's just like the front part of the train, and they're on their way. So meanwhile, Clara's on a different train and overhears a man telling another man, like, "You wouldn't believe how in love this guy was." And she realizes that they're talking about Doc and her. And so she's like, "Oh, he does love me." And, like, I guess forgets that he told her he was the time traveler or whatever. So she's forgotten that, decides to, like, go after him, finds, I don't know, takes a horse out there and knows that they were going for that train, I guess.
Because she goes to Doc's lab and sees the
right.
model.
She sees the model that says time machine, which is like a time machine stuffed with batteries, which... Do they have batteries back then? I don't know.
I guess that one was
maybe
from.
Marty brought them in his Walkman. They were in the car. Maybe, I don't know. So, anyways, it's this big, very exciting scene at the end where they got to get the DeLorean up to 88. So Doc brings these logs, which burn faster and, like, harder or whatever. So they're timed to go off at different times, and he's set them up on this timer that Marty can watch and see them. So every time one explodes, it gives the train, like, more momentum, and it gets faster and faster. So I don't know why they didn't think this would be a problem, but, like, Doc has to get all the way from, like, the front of the train and then has to, like, jump into a DeLorean, which is, like, in the front of the train, very low to the ground. I'm still unsure how they were going to get him in there. And then, wouldn't you know it, dummy Clara was like, Emmett, Brian, I'm like, where are you? And it's like, bad time, lady. And it's just this thing. And then he decides in that moment to stay with his love, so he doesn't get in the time machine. And he and Clara, after he is, like, on the hoverboard, saves her. And then there's this dramatic scene where her dress gets caught in the wheels or something. She's like, it rips and falls for, like, 10 minutes. It's like, it keeps ripping. She keeps feeling like, ah! And I'm like, okay, you've already been dead, like, 8 times. How much lower can
Her head
you
was so
get?
close to the train,
Yeah,
like, wheel.
it was silly. But yeah, and then the time machine goes off, and Marty is whisked away back to
old 1985,
and everything is back to normal. And by normal, I mean the good version of his present that he didn't even
has never experienced,
which is weird, and I still don't understand it.
Yeah. So when he came out, I was really hoping he'd come out to the plaza again and he'd be like, what does he say to the old bum guy? Red or something?
Oh, yeah.
Remember? We figured it out what he was saying. We're like, maybe he says bread. Because he's like,
no, that's what you said.
I know. I'm like, I gotta listen to that one
the
again.
bum's name is Red.
Yeah. So anyway, he doesn't come out
Red.
in the mini mall. He comes out, like, on the train track, just, like, rolls in past people, and he's in a DeLorean with train wheels basically on it, and people are like, "What the fuck is that?" So he gets out and, is immediately back into this new alternate 1985, but the happy one for him, right? Mm-hmm. And I said to Sweetie when it happened, I was like, dang, like, it's been 3 movies and this poor guy has lived a total of 1 day, like, in his real life, but he's lived, like, how many weeks in other time periods?
Only like 2.
Exhausting.
Yeah.
So crazy. Like, his mind must be so messed up. So he checks on his family and everyone's okay. He checks on Jennifer. She's okay. And she's still kind of like, was this a dream? Was it not? Because, she
it
was
wasn't
in
a
the
dream.
second
You knew
one.
you were in a time machine.
Yeah. Really confusing. So then they're like, kind of like, oh, so happy to be together, blah, blah, blah. But then Marty has this sad moment. Oh, I'm never going to see Doc Brown again. And the time machine. So he gets out of the time machine on the train track just as another train is coming. So it gets completely pulverized. Literally falls into 1,000 pieces. Like, the thing was held together by, like, nothing. I don't know. Is that how you build a car? Who built that
Maybe
car?
a DeLorean.
Yeah.
Weren't they like, that's why they don't make them anymore,
Yikes.
right? Because they were, like, shitty.
Oh, yeah. Millions of pieces. So he sees this, like, little photo of Doc Brown, like, with the clock that's in the clock tower for the 1855 photo. He gets all sad. And then what do you know? Like, the the train track, like train coming thing comes down, and no train is coming. So they're like, whoa. So you're like, ghost train. But it's kind of like a ghost train, but not. It's a train from the past. So Doc, as brilliant as he is, makes a time machine out of a train using steam for power, right? So like he always was able to, whatever the power source was, he figured it out. So he uses like nuclear or whatever, plutonium originally, and then he uses like fusion or fission or something in the future one. And then he's able to use steam to create like a flux capacitor and the energy needed to time travel, right?
And flight. I'm still
right.
confused.
But then he's able to make it fly. I don't know. So he's had a whole life in 1855 with Clara. They have 2 sons named Jules and Vern. And he stopped by just to like tell Marty basically he was okay and to give him like a photo of them from when they took a photo in front of the clock. So really, really sweet and like lovely ending and good for Doc because he has his own life now. You're right. Like he's not just like going to be time traveling alone. He's time traveling with this whole family.
He's
so
got
that's
2
really
ugly
sweet.
kids. Life is good.
Life is good.
Well,
So
one
then-
really ugly one. Vern didn't make it out too good of the womb, let's say.
So then they kind of do a real full circle where they have Marty and Jennifer riding around and they're at a stoplight and the guy Needles pulls up. So if you remember Needles from the second one, he's Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, so random. And he, in the second one, he's like a coworker of Marty, the elder Marty. So who's like 40 years old and really like busted, right? And he convinces Marty to do some like work scam, and then he gets caught by the jits. Who's this Japanese guy who's like McFly.
McFly. They make a lot of like Asian jokes in these movies that I like didn't really notice until the third one, which is like heavily, embedded in racist language because of the time. But then when you go back and you think about it, you're like, oh, actually, like there are a lot of like weird Asian rude things said in this.
But yeah, so you find out that the Flea character was, Flea character, Needles was like I would guess like, I mean, because Marty is what, in high school? Yeah. It seems like some kind of high school rival for him, and he's like always, challenging, just like the jerk of the high school. I think who's like, "Hey, come on, McFly, like let's drag race."
Yeah, is he the Biff? He's the Biff of Marty's school that we never got to know because Marty was never in his own school.
Exactly. So he challenges him. And he's like, "What are you, chicken?" And so he starts revving. He has that brand new truck, and he's revving at the stoplight. And then instead of going forward, he reverses, and he turns around and sees that if he had kept going and actually did the drag race, he would have crashed into a Rolls Royce, which is how he hurt his hand and why he never played guitar again, and he couldn't be this famous guitarist, even though I'm probably sure he's not going to be one. But crazy. So it comes like full circle, and they avoid that whole thing, and then Jennifer pulls out her thing, or I guess that was before.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Before
this
they
was before,
but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm out of order.
She pulls out the "you're fired" fact she got from the second one, and now it's just clear. I was hoping it would be like, "You're hired." But it's just empty. So Doc, she brings that to Doc and is like, "What does this mean?" And it's like, "Duh, put it together, Jennifer." Well, obviously, it didn't happen anymore. Yeah. But he's like, "It means your future is whatever you want it to be. Blah, blah, blah. Unwritten. The rest is still unwritten."
Right. And I thought that was, while very sweet, sort of a heavy-handed like. Kind of like overarching, this is the lesson of this film that I'm not sure it totally needed, but adorable in a way. Yeah, sweet.
I'm glad we got to see Doc again, although I would have been fine if we hadn't, like if it had just been like it lived and died in the West and that was it. Like I wouldn't have been too sad about it. Yeah. Unlike Sweetie, who would have cried because she's in love with it. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It was nice. So I had like the weirdest sensation while watching this of just the feeling that I have just seen this movie, even though I've like never seen this movie. For some reason, the beginning was giving me the strongest feelings of deja vu, to the point where I was like, was this playing in the background at a bar or something that like I was watching it but not really watching it? I don't know. So
weird.
Yeah, it was just the beginning though. It was so bizarre. So I can't remember, but I've definitely seen it at some point. But that's all I remember. And then I remembered like the end part with the train. Maybe I remember this being on at like the Laytons one time when we were over there, and we were like, I don't know about this Back to the Future 3. And then maybe that's where we saw that last scene. But yeah, that's all I remembered. Yeah. Did you have any other mumras?
I did, but I lost my note. Oh, there's.
Thank God. She was really stressed out about it.
Okay. Do I have any other thoughts about this? We missed that ZZ Top has a role in this. Pretty cool. So in the first one, you had Huey Lewis and the News is kind of featured, right, as their big songs.
Yeah, who's in the second one? Oh, maybe Flea was the artist or the musician of the second one.
But
he didn't do a song.
Is the Huey Lewis song in the second one? No.
I mean, isn't it like the theme of Back to the Future?
It is. But then they use ZZ Top in this one as sort of like this like old timey band, and they have like kind of a fun song that plays at the town festival that Doc Brown and Clara dance at. So that was like kind of fun. Other than that, my only thought is nice house, Doc Brown. Where'd you get it? Why does he have such a nice house?
Yeah, we don't know a ton about his life. I don't think, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm assuming he inherited it,
right.
And we do know that it burnt down at some point, and so then he's just been living in the garage.
Right.
So that's all we know. Is Jimmy outside? I just saw somebody walk by the window and I got spooked.
No, it's someone walking the dog.
In your driveway?
Yeah. Go there, so there.
Oh, okay. That was really scary. I was like, Jimmy? Like Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Kitty.
But I had a good time. As I said, my favorite part of watching this movie was quoting the other movies when similar songs came up. Or similar scenes came up. Like the Strickland guy appears on screen. And he's a sheriff in this, and he is like a big black mustache, and he's all in black, so he's kind of almost unrecognizable because you know that actor is like very Mr. Clean, like bald, like shiny bald head, and kind of like a severe face. So when I saw him on the screen, all I could say was Strickland when those guys like drive by and he comes out with the gun. He's like boom, boom, like the bad Hill Valley scene. Oh, yeah, I love that part.
You're a slacker.
Yep, you're a slacker. The part where he goes and wakes up Jennifer and she's sleeping, and then when he puts her to sleep, or he puts her there in the beginning of the second one, he's like, I remember bars on these windows. All these like little touches that I just love. I just love the first and second one so much. Yeah, it's real good.
I really did too.
Yeah.
I thought the weirdest part by far was when Mad Dog Tannen is like shooting Marty in the saloon, and then Marty's like way to avoid it is to just break into a moonwalk and like do Michael Jackson
and start singing a Michael Jackson song when he does it,
very faintly, and like not like it's so weird. And it's not even like we know Marty's a fan. Like he's a rocker. Like he likes playing rock music, and I've never seen him dance.
But also to get away from someone shooting bullets at your feet, the moonwalk would be the absolutely worst thing to do.
It doesn't make any sense.
I'm
still confused about it. I mean, it was just again in the time when Michael Jackson was all the rage, and like they
everyone knew how to do the moonwalk.
Right, and they played "Beat It" in the second one. He's in the Cafe 80s. TT. Tia Pia or whatever, tortilla Pia.
God, I love that one. Cafe 80s.
I just thought it was awkward. And then aside from that, I think the movie largely is awkward because the writing is weird, and it's like to the point where they do too much like exposition of like explaining things in these like long drawn out ways that no one would ever say them. So they're like, geez, Doc, it's really weird that you came all the way from 1985 just to tell me that blah blah blah. Like that's an example of a line. Like it's like really weird.
Right, like we've been watching, this is the third one of this, like we get it. Like we know.
Yeah, I feel like they thought we were like total dummies or something.
Or like people are watching this for the first time and needing all this back stuff.
Who's like, I need a movie to watch. I know, Back to the Future Part 3. Never seen the first two. Doesn't matter. I don't think so. Like obviously it does.
Right. Right. These are not movies that you can just jump in and really get like acclimated to.
I mean, maybe you
like, what's
could.
going on. I don't think
Based on just this one. But I thought that was strange. But that's really the only two like main points of feedback I had.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it fits. I'm glad we saw it, and like I said, I understand why this is a trilogy now, and like why they made it, you know, and it did kind of all fit together really, really nice. Like with any good trilogy, there are like the highs and lows. So, and you know, this one just didn't catch on because it's, I think, just not as good of a movie, but also I think not. The Old West isn't for everybody. It certainly isn't for me.
Hate it.
I always think the Old West is like snoozers. I've seen some good Western ones kind of recently, some old ones that turn me a little bit, but like I'm still like
I'm just so
how could that
over
be
it. It's
your
like
favorite genre. You know how some
it's just
people like
like-
it's their favorite genre.
Yeah.
Western?
it's just so dusty and it's like boring and dusty and farty and it's like I just don't care. And like how many saloons do I need to go into
I mean-
before I'm like, oh, this is
totally.
just the same fucking thing.
Just like Westworld, like that was people's like dream to like go in the Old West. Like no thanks.
Like
Hard pass.
boys' dreams.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that comes from playing like cowboys and Indians or whatever. Like it's really fucking weird.
Guns and
Get over it.
horses.
That's all I have
and
to say.
Saloons? Is that like a fun thing for you? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I feel like women are like, wow, I don't want to go the Old
I
West.
don't want to
was
go to the
either
Old
like-
West. I will get raped.
I will get raped. I was either a prostitute in a saloon or like doing laundry with a washboard. Like, no fucking thank you.
Pass.
Sucks.
Hard pass. Yeah.
I read this book about Lyndon Johnson. Like, it's like a 5-book part, but his family grew up in like the middle of Texas, and it was this like horrible, horrible place, kind of like the Old West. And the women literally just did laundry all day, every day, and they had these like crazy hot irons that were so heavy, and they would constantly be burning themselves.
Why they have so many clothes?
Oh my God. It's all they did was did
Just wear the
laundry,
same thing every
and
day.
it was all these fields. So they were constantly cooking for the people who worked in the fields. If they weren't doing laundry, they were cooking food all day with these like hot ovens. It sounded like literally the worst place on earth.
Yeah.
And people stayed there. They stayed there for years. I think they were too poor to get out. But man, I'm telling you, I would not go back to the Old West if you paid
Bad
me.
deal. Bad deal. Bad deal. All right. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Cool. Well, I know there's someone out there who likes Back to the Future Part 3 the best, and I forget who that is, but this is for you.
This for you.
If you want to talk to us about Back to the Future, any of them really, or this one, come find us on Twitter at The Sweet Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.
Biff is a rape artist.
Total rape artist.